Most of us love the idea of retirement, and we always assume that our retirement is sorted. Why? Because we got CPF. So you do everything right, you work hard, you put in your best effort in your job, and you manage to hit your full retirement sum at 55 years old. Never miss a contribution, and you grind all the way till you're 65. And here is the part that nobody warns you about, which is that you could still retire into a life that you never sign up for. And so today, I am going to show you with real numbers why CPF will not get you halfway to a comfortable retirement and exactly how much you will need. What does a comfortable retirement actually cost? I did some research, so take a look at this. Singapore retired households spends an average of $2,349 per month and is heavily localized, and this of course varies based on every individual's lifestyle expectations. And a single senior require roughly about 1,500 monthly for basic living, whereas for couples, right, if you are aiming for a more comfortable lifestyle, it ranges from 2,003 to 3,005. Okay, so what does comfortable mean? Let's just take the average over here and I'll just round up a little bit to 2.5K per month just for ease of calculation as well. Okay, now when we look at how much we need to retire, we do also want to look at our average lifespan. Okay, so that's what we want to consider, right? It's not just for a few years. And as you can see right now, life expectancy in Singapore now is roughly about 84 years. Now, think about it, over the next few years, life expectancy will gradually increase to 85, maybe even 90 years old one day. So, if you consider that you are retiring to 65, okay, and until if you are about 85 years old, how many years do you need for your retirement? How much funding do you need? You need about 20 years worth of funding. Now, we know how much we need every month and for how long. And the next question is, how do we make sure that we can sustain? After all, we also got to consider what if we live longer, right? Which is a blessing, but only if our money outlives us. And this is also not considering that maybe you want to leave aside some inheritance. And this is where I want to introduce you to this concept called the 4% rule. So the 4% rule is actually a very popular retirement guideline. It was based on a study that was done in 1998. So it suggests that you can actually withdraw 4% of your total retirement portfolio in your first year of retirement. And when you adjust that amount, that dollar amount for inflation each subsequent years, it will continue to make your savings last for 30 years. At the very least, 30 years as your portfolio continues to compound as well. So when we base it on this 4% rule and how much we need every month, if we do the reverse engineering of how much you need, what we actually need to draw 2,500 a month for life, we need about $750,000. So how this calculation comes about is $30,000 a year divided by the 4% rule. Okay, so this, what is this amount? You need about 25 times your annual spend. So it looks big, it looks scary, but it is actually real. So hold this number in your head, 750K. Now the problem with most people is that we never actually calculate whether can we actually reach this goal. But one thing that has helped us is that we have CPF Life. But the more important question is, how much does CPF Life provide us and how much do you need on top of CPF Life? So this is the latest data that I pull out from CPF directly. So you can see that based on whether you are putting in for your basic retirement sum or your free retirement sum or your enhanced retirement sum, the numbers differ. But let's take the average of the full retirement sum, and assuming that when do you want your payout, it is at 65 years old. If you wait till 70, yes, you can. But at the same time, what do we have to consider? That we also want to enjoy our life. So if you hit the full retirement sum, right, and how much CPF Life will actually pay you is roughly $1,800 per month from age 65. So when we look at the gap, CPF Life will give you $1,800. But what is the average sum that you need? You need about $2,500. And the gap that you must fill is about $700 per month, right? So who fills that gap? Because your salary stops the day that you retire, and the rest is on yourself, right? But here's the good news for you. That 750K that you saw earlier, you don't actually have to build it yourself. Why? Because with CPF Life, it actually already covers about $540,000, right? This is your 1,700 $280 per month, right? And this calculation is based on that 4% rule that you saw earlier. So, what is that real job? What is your real job? Your real job is just the rest, right? About 210K. And that is the amount that you need to build because CPF already does that heavy lifting. So 210K is the number that matters. So why do most people never build even that? And it all falls back to this trap. Okay, this is the trap that most people are stuck in, which is the rat race cycle, right? You work hard for money, you pay the bills, you fund your lifestyle, and at the end of the day, you have nothing left to save, right? So you can run this loop for 40 years and you can actually never build a single dollar of the 210K that you need because that's the reality of life. We have our own things to take care of, our family, aging parents, so on and so forth. Now, the problem is not your income. The problem is not that you are not working. It is that the money only ever comes from where? The money only ever comes from you working. And the only way out is the money that works for you, not you working for money. So you don't need a bigger income. You don't need to work hard to get promoted all the time and continue to give up more of your time. What you need is a skill that pays you whether you work or not. And one of those skills is investing. Because a salary is you working for money, but investing is your money working for you. And in retirement, only one of those will show up. Now, let me show you how compounding will work in investing when you save every single month. Now, take a look at this compounding curve. So, compare right now if you are just saving as compared to letting that savings work harder for you. Now, assuming if you are saving $500 per month, you're working every month and you try to save $500 every month, right? And you start at age 30 years old. In order for you to reach 210K, how long do you need? If you do the math, you need 35 years. That means just nice, right when you are 65 years old, you would have built that 210K, right? Now, compared to if you are investing it, right? Investing this $500 per month at a rate of 7%, right? 7% is a long-term historical advantage, right? So you can see that at the start, it looks about the same, but right when you are closing into the 20 years mark, right at 48 years old, by 48, you would have already reached this target that you have, right? And imagine if you're continually working until you are 65. That's another 17 years, another half of that for you to compound. And by the age of 70 years old, this amount would have grown to $1.3 million, right? The same money in. And what is the difference? The difference is compounding. Compounding is where your returns start earning their own returns. It's tiny at first, but it becomes a snowball and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But that was the perfect world vision, right? That if you start as early as 30. But some of us might be starting at 35, 40, 45, so on and so forth. And this number that you saw earlier, it assumes three things all go your way, right? Number one is you hit the full retirement sum, right? Because if you don't hit the full retirement sum, you might not be able to withdraw out 1,800 from CPF after you're 65, right? That number becomes bigger, right? The second is whether you can set aside $500 every month because along the way you will have big expenses that comes in, be it housing, family, so on and so forth, right? And number three, that's assuming you start at age 30, whereas most people actually start later than that. So just change anyone and the picture shifts. You might have to save even longer. And the biggest lever is when you start. So let me show you that. So take a look at this. This is the same $500 per month. And how much do you need to build? 210K. So if you start at 30 years old, just nice when you're 65, you would have reached that target, assuming you can diligently save $500 per month. But if you start 10 years later, if you start at 40, right, you realize that you will be short 60K. You will have only built 150K. You have only saved up that amount. But if you start later than that, if you start at 50 years old, you'll be short even more. You'll be short for 120K. Now, compare that if you were investing and letting your money work for you at this 7% rate. At 30 years old, this amount that you save, you will have cleared, you will have reached 900K when you are 65. Right. And if you're at 40, even if you start at 40 and you invest that amount, that $500 that you have every month, you are also going to reach that target, close to double that amount, 405K. Now, if you are at 50, definitely you will still be short, right? But you will definitely be miles ahead of the 90K that you have just saved. Okay, so you can see that saving never really gets you there. Investing does. And the later you start, the more it matters because compounding actually needs runway. So, wherever you are, the real lesson is this: you got to start as early as possible, right? And you got to invest, and you cannot just save your way to retirement. And of course, when I say invest, you're probably thinking, what should I invest in? Now, that is the part that I cannot fully fit in one video, but it is exactly what I share every day inside my Telegram community. So, in there, I show you the quality businesses that I am actually watching and why, the moves that I'm making in my own portfolio, as well as daily market updates, and how I break a company down before I put a single dollar inside, right? And when the markets get scary and the headlines start screaming, that's why I cut through the noise in plain English so you can stay calm and keep compounding instead of panic selling and screwing up your portfolio. And best part is that you're not doing this alone. There's over 800 people inside there right now. So it's completely free. The link is in the description box below. You can just scan this QR code as well. Now, I do also want to take some time to share how you can actually blow your retirement because it's a delicate journey, right? Anytime if you miss a certain step, it might affect your retirement down the road. So here are 4 ways that Singaporeans will blow their retirement. Number 1, which is the most expensive mistake, waiting, right? Because every year you delay, you lose time, and time is our biggest asset, not money. Number 2 is chasing the highest yield or the hottest stock, risky bets that will end up screwing up your capital. So always remember, you always want to pick quality investing, quality companies first. Number 3 is leaning on just CPF or just your property, right? So CPF is a floor, right? It's not a plan. And your home does not pay your groceries unless you sell it, right? And considering that your home, you do also need some sort of leverage on top of it. And last but not least, right, which is panic selling every crash. Now, one panic sell can actually undo a decade in one afternoon, one whole decade of compounding, right? So none of these are about being smarter or about earning more. It is all about your human emotions, your behavior. Because retirement is not won by just earning more money. Retirement is won by your own temperament. Now, everything so far assumes that you retire at 65, right? But when you invest your money, watch what the engine does for you. Because instead of you retiring at 65, you will retire at your own terms. Because when you build a portfolio before 65, it will just throw off this 4% rule while you are still working. And the day where your income covers your expenses, work just becomes optional, right? And that can be years, even a decade before 65, right? So CPF decides when you can draw your CPF, which is at 65, but your portfolio decides when you can stop working and truly enjoy life that you want, right? Rather than only enjoying after 65. So that is 2 very different freedoms, right? And the best day to start, if you think you're too late, let me share with you that the best day to start was yesterday, and the next best day to start was today. Because someone is sitting in the shade today because someone else planted a tree long time ago. That's all that I have for you for today's video. So if you do enjoy this video, be sure to like and subscribe down below or share with a friend. The link to my Telegram community is in the description box down below as well. And I'll see you in the next one.